Hello everyone. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos because there will be a must-have next. I don't really know why I'm posting here. Maybe because I don't have many people left who actually believe me anymore. Maybe because I'm tired of feeling like a character in someone else's soap opera. And maybe because I need to tell the truth, somewhere, to someone who might not think I'm crazy. So, hi. Call me Johnny. No, not that Johnny Depp. I just share the name, and, weirdly enough, a similar experience. Only difference is, mine didn't end with a courtroom and 100 cameras. Mine ended in a quiet, ugly way. Like a house collapsing in slow motion while the neighbors water their lawns and pretend not to notice. I've been married for 7 years to a woman I'll call Amber. Fitting, right? She's smart, beautiful, witty, can turn on the charm like a light switch. But sometimes charm is just well-dressed manipulation. The first crack showed up a year ago. I was doing a small indie film project upstate. Nothing fancy, just something for the love of acting. And I came home early, on a random Wednesday. She didn't hear me come in. She was in the kitchen, whispering on the phone. Real quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your stomach tighten. I didn't hear much. Just, no, he's not here, followed by laughter. That weird, fake laugh. The one she uses when she's being someone else. I walked in and said, hey, and she jumped like I'd pulled a gun. Said it was her sister. Swore up and down. Thing is, she doesn't have a sister. That should have been it, right? Should have packed a bag and dipped. But nah, I told myself maybe she meant a sorority sister or some crap. She lied so smoothly, I almost thanked her for the explanation. That's the thing with people like her. They make lying look like art. And I was in love. Stupid, stubborn love. The kind where your gut is screaming but your heart's like, nah bro, let's just see what happens. That was the first time I didn't believe her. But it wouldn't be the last. So I let it go. Or at least, I pretended to. Buried it somewhere deep under trust and denial. She acted normal after that day, too normal, if I'm being honest. Suddenly she was baking again, wearing perfume even when she wasn't going anywhere, initiating sex more often. At the time, I thought, maybe she realized she messed up. Now I know it was guilt wrapped in lipstick. A couple months passed. I kept busy with auditions and side gigs. I even started writing a screenplay, something gritty and personal. It was supposed to be about a man rebuilding his life after betrayal. Real subtle, huh? Then one night I was on the couch, watching some old Kurosawa flick, when her phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at it, instinct, not intention, and saw a name I didn't recognize, Martin, yoga. Amber doesn't do yoga. Never has. Calls it cult stretching. I didn't touch it. I wanted to. God. I wanted to open that message like it held the cure to my confusion. But instead, I waited. Played it cool. The next day, she left for a brunch with Megan. 10 minutes later, I opened the drawer under the sink looking for garbage bags and found something that made my blood go cold, a second phone. It was old, scratched up, had no lock screen. Like it was never meant to be seen. It was like opening a portal to a parallel version of my wife. Texts from Martin were all over it. I scrolled and saw the kind of messages you don't forget. Stuff like, last night was perfect. I miss your taste. Photos I can't erase from my memory. Voice notes where she giggled like a teenager and called him babe. I sat there, on the cold tile floor, phone in one hand, my soul in the other, shaking. And the worst part? I still wanted there to be a good explanation. That's how deep I was in it. That's how much of myself I had tied to someone who saw me as disposable. I didn't confront her that day. Not yet. I needed to see how deep the rabbit hole went first. She came home that afternoon with a croissant, fake laughing about how Megan was drunk on bottomless mimosas and how she might have said something scandalous about her boss. Meanwhile, I was just staring at her, wondering how I ever believed a single word that came out of her mouth. I couldn't fake it anymore. I told her we needed to talk. She froze for a second, barely a second, but it was there. That flicker of calculation behind her eyes. She recovered quick, though, nodded like we were about to talk about what color to paint the guest room. I pulled the second phone from my hoodie pocket and placed it on the table between us like it was a loaded gun. Her face. Jesus. She looked like a magician caught mid-trick. Eyes darted. Hands clutched her stomach like she was going to faint. Then the tears came, instantly. Like flipping a switch. But I didn't move. Didn't speak. I wanted her to talk first. And she did. In full performance mode. She gasped, "That's not mine. That's my friend Nicole's." I was holding it for her because her husband's abusive and he checks her phone all the time. I just sat there, silent. So she doubled down. I can't believe you went through my things. Do you not trust me? Are you seriously spying on me like some paranoid freak? I said nothing. Just opened the phone and played one of the voice notes where she moaned Martin's name and said she wished I were less clingy so she could breathe. Her face went flat. Not angry. Not ashamed. Just flat. Then came the final twist of the knife. She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and said, "Fine. You want to know the truth? You haven't made me feel wanted in years. You're boring, Johnny. You go off on your little indie projects and leave me here. What did you expect me to do?" That broke something in me. Not just the words. Those were painful, yeah, but the coldness. Like I was just a roommate who forgot to take out the trash too many times. I walked out of the house, got in the car, drove for hours, didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. That night, I ended up sleeping in my car outside a 24-hour diner. I didn't even go in. Just sat there, engine off, windows cracked, staring at the flickering neon sign that read, "Breakfast all day." My stomach was a knot of rage and disbelief. It's weird, the stages you go through. At first, you're just numb. Like your brain refuses to process what you just saw, what you just heard. It protects you. Freezes everything like a paused movie. Then something breaks that stillness, and the emotions start rushing in like a tidal wave. For me, it was a memory, her in our kitchen 2 Christmases ago, dancing barefoot to old jazz, wearing one of my shirts, laughing like nothing in the world could touch us. And then the thought, she probably cheated on me that week, too. That's when the anger came. Real, molten, chest-pounding fury. I slammed the steering wheel, screamed into the dark, punched the roof so hard I bloodied my knuckles. The pain felt good, real, at least. I wasn't just mad at her. I was mad at me. Mad that I let it slide when she lied about the sister. Mad that I gave her the benefit of the doubt when she said I was imagining things. Mad that I believed the tears, the fake concern, the sudden sex drive. You start playing detective in your own past. Every missed call. Every late night, girls' night. Every time she pushed me away emotionally and I thought it was just stress. It all gets rewritten with betrayal ink. And the worst part? I was still in love with her. That kind of love doesn't disappear overnight. It rots slowly. And sometimes the smell takes a while to reach your nose. The next morning, I showered at the gym, grabbed coffee, and texted my brother. Told him I'd be crashing on his couch for a while. What I didn't expect was what happened the next time I saw her. 3 days of silence. 3 days of couch cushions and bad takeout, and trying to pretend I was functioning when all I did was scroll through old photos and swing between rage and heartbreak. Then she texted, "Just, can we talk? Please. I swear it's important." I stared at it for 10 minutes. My thumbs hovered. My gut said no, but my curiosity said yes, and maybe a small, pathetic sliver of hope still clung to the idea that she might say something that made sense. Something human. So I told her to meet me in the park. Public place. No screaming. No throwing things. I needed that buffer. She showed up looking like a mess, but in that performative, Instagram sad way. No makeup. Hoodie. Hair tied up like she hadn't slept in days. She sat next to me on the bench, all trembling hands and big, wet eyes. I didn't say a word. I just waited. Then she dropped it. "I'm pregnant." It landed like a grenade. I felt the blood drain from my face. I literally saw black spots. My first thought, God help me, was, is it mine? I didn't say that out loud. I just stared at her. She sniffled, said she'd taken 3 tests, all positive. Said she didn't know how far along, but a few weeks maybe. Said she wanted to tell me first before making any decisions. I asked her flat out, "Is it mine or Martin's?" She didn't answer right away. Just looked away, then whispered, "I don't know." Let me repeat that for the people in the back. She didn't know. So now I was trapped in some kind of cruel limbo. I was mourning a marriage, betrayed beyond belief, and now there was a possible child in the mix. Or worse, not mine at all. It felt like emotional waterboarding. Every time I thought it couldn't get worse, someone tilted the bucket again. She tried to hold my hand. I pulled away. She said she was sorry. I laughed. I actually laughed in her face. Because sorry? That's what you say when you forget to buy milk. Not when you sleep with another man, lie for months, and drop a nuclear bomb in the form of a maybe baby. I told her to schedule a paternity test as soon as it was safe. Then I got up and walked away. Again. Except this time, she followed me. And what she said next, I swear, it made the whole thing even messier. I'm walking away, thinking that's it. I've hit the floor. There's nowhere lower to go than you might be raising another man's baby. But nope. She jogs to catch up with me, grabbing my arm like we're in some dramatic soap opera. She says, "Wait, I lied. It is yours." I stop, stare. "You just said you weren't sure," I tell her, eyes burning holes through her skull. She starts crying harder, Oscar-worthy stuff. Says she panicked. Says she didn't want to admit she'd been tracking her ovulation while still sleeping with Martin and me. She wanted to manipulate sympathy, control the narrative. Her words, not mine. I thought if I said I didn't know, maybe you'd come back, at least until we figured it out. She used the pregnancy, real or not, as bait. Leverage. Emotional extortion. I was standing in front of the woman I used to fantasize about growing old with, realizing she was now a manipulator playing pregnancy poker with my sanity. I asked, "So, are you even pregnant?" She flinched. That tiny, split-second delay said everything. She muttered something about maybe a false positive and stress messing with hormones, and "I'll take another test." I didn't wait. I just left. I walked straight to my brother's apartment, locked myself in the spare room, stared at the ceiling and realized I no longer knew who the hell I had married. Here's the kicker. The next morning, I get a Venmo request from her for $42.58. Caption: for pregnancy tests. She wanted me to reimburse her for the test she bought to fake a pregnancy to win me back after cheating on me. I didn't know whether to laugh, scream, or call a priest. And just when I thought that was the climax, I got a DM from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Cassandra. So I get this DM on Instagram from a woman named Cassandra. No mutuals. Private profile. I almost ignored it. But the message preview caught my eye. "Hey, I think we need to talk. It's about your wife." I opened it, half expecting spam, half expecting another punch to the gut. What I didn't expect was a full-on info dump. Cassandra was Martin's girlfriend. Well, ex-girlfriend. She found out about my wife the same way I did, accidentally. Martin had left his phone on the nightstand, and she caught a glimpse of a text. Not just any text. A picture of my wife in our bedroom, wearing my hoodie, captioned, "Miss you already, babe kiss mark." Cassandra said she'd been with Martin for nearly 2 years. They were talking about moving in together. She thought he was loyal, stable, a little boring, but safe. Sound familiar? I swear, we were living the same nightmare in parallel. She went through his messages, pieced together the timeline, and realized they'd been overlapping for at least 6 months. Sometimes, according to her screenshots, Martin would leave her place at 9 p.m. and be at my house by 10. Let that sink in. Cassandra sent me screenshots. Dozens. DMs, texts, even voice notes. One of them had my wife giggling about how clueless Johnny is, saying he's too busy trying to be a serious actor to notice anything. That one hurt more than all the rest. I told Cassandra everything, my side, the fake pregnancy, the lies, the manipulation. We ended up talking on the phone for over an hour. Two strangers with one thing in common, being blindsided by people we trusted. And then Cassandra said something that made my blood run cold. "She's not just sleeping with Martin." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I mean, Martin told me she's seeing a third guy. Some older producer guy in Burbank. Goes by Big Mike. Ever heard that name before?" Yeah, I had. Big Mike was the same guy who helped get me that supporting role in that indie film. The one that opened a few doors. The one I celebrated landing with her. Now I was wondering what she had done to help me land it. You ever have a memory just rot in your brain? Like, it used to be golden, and then one day, someone opens a door and lets all the flies in? That's what happened when I thought about Big Mike. I remembered the night I landed that indie film role. She was so excited, like she'd won the lottery. Said it was my big break. She made reservations at some overpriced fusion place and told me I deserved everything coming my way. Back then, I thought it was love. Now, I couldn't stop seeing her kissing my so-called big break goodbye. So I did what every broken man with a grudge and too much time does. I went digging. I texted an old friend in casting. Told him I was trying to figure out who else was considered for that role. Asked if I'd really been the top pick or if it was a favor. He texted back one word. Favor. My heart sank. I asked, whose favor? He just sent back. Ask your wife. Or Mike. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying all the late nights she said she was at yoga or out with the girls. I remembered how she suddenly started pushing me to take the audition, how she somehow knew what kind of material Big Mike liked. I thought she was supportive. Turns out, she was strategic. The next day, I showed up at Mike's office. Didn't text. Didn't call. Just walked in. He tried to play it cool, but I didn't sit down. I stood in his doorway and asked, "Did you sleep with my wife to give me that part?" Mike didn't deny it. He just said, "Look, kid, that's between you and her. I did you a favor. She said you were talented. She vouched for you. Take the win." Take the win? I nearly knocked over his $10,000 espresso machine. Instead, I just walked out. Stunned. Numb. Furious. So now let's tally it up. My wife cheated. Faked a pregnancy. Used me to elevate her own status. Sabotaged my relationship with people in my industry. And possibly pimped herself out to get me roles I thought I earned. And somehow, she still had the audacity to text me that night. "I miss you. Can we talk?" "Sure. Let's talk. But this time, I'm bringing a lawyer." All right, so I finally did it. I lawyered up. And let me tell you, walking into a divorce attorney's office for the first time after years of marriage feels like entering a funeral home with your own name on the tombstone. But once I laid everything out, the cheating, the lies, the fake pregnancy, the manipulation, it stopped feeling like grief and started feeling like clarity. My lawyer, bless her no-nonsense soul, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "We're going to scorch the earth." Now, I'm not a vengeful guy by default. But when someone poisons your well and then tells you you're overreacting about the stomach ache, you start looking for matches. The papers were drawn up. Straightforward. No alimony, she made enough on her own. No shared assets, my name was on the house. No kids, thank God. I had Cassandra to thank for blowing the whole thing open. And then came the delivery day. She thought we were going to talk. She wore the soft sweater like she was starring in a Lifetime movie. Tears locked and loaded. I handed her the envelope. She opened it, blinked, read the front page, and then looked at me like I had slapped her with a brick made of betrayal. Her first words? "Are you serious right now? After everything I've done for you?" I let out a laugh I didn't know I was holding in. Not the amused kind. The broken, exhausted, "You've got to be kidding me" kind. You mean after you cheated? After you lied about being pregnant? After you sold your dignity to Big Mike and used me like a networking tool? She didn't even deny it anymore. Instead, she tried a different strategy. Victim mode. "I was lonely," she whispered. "You were always so obsessed with your career. I felt like I had no place in your world unless I made one." I told her she had every opportunity to speak up, to be real, to be honest. But she chose shortcuts, manipulation, and secrets. And then came the last straw. She reached into her purse, pulled out a flash drive, and said, "If you go through with this, I'll release this to the press." I didn't even look at it. I just said, "Go ahead. Burn what's left. Just remember, when the smoke clears, you're the one holding the lighter." I turned around, walked out, and never looked back. So, yeah, she tried to blackmail me. Said she had a flash drive full of material that would ruin my reputation. I wasn't sure what that meant exactly. Deepfakes? Old voicemails? Maybe some videos taken out of context? Nothing illegal, but enough to stir a media storm if you toss it to the right TMZ in turn on a bad news day. But here's the thing. She underestimated one crucial fact. I've already been to hell. I'd been humiliated, used, manipulated, lied to by the one person I once trusted with my life. And after all that, she thought I'd be scared of some pixelated revenge? So I called her bluff. I sent a statement through my PR guy. Nothing dramatic, just, "After a period of private difficulty, I have filed for divorce. I wish her peace. Please respect our privacy." Kept it classy. But she? Oh, she couldn't resist making it public. She posted some cryptic Instagram story about men who hide behind fame and gaslight good women, and tagged a few tabloids. I guess she thought the sympathy wave would come crashing in. But it didn't. Because plot twist, Cassandra went public first. She made a TikTok. Just her, a ring light, and receipts. She laid out everything. Screenshots, texts, audio clips. She blurred names but left just enough for people to connect the dots. And people did. Comment sections lit up. Threads exploded. People started asking real questions. Why did my ex pretend to be pregnant? Why was she involved with both me and a known sleazeball producer at the same time? Why did Martin suddenly delete his socials? Suddenly, I wasn't the one being canceled. She was. And when her little revenge flash drive leaked anonymously a few days later, guess what? It made her look worse. There was a clip of her bragging on a hot mic about manipulating Johnny into thinking he owed her his career. One where she joked about crying on cue if the lawyers get too aggressive. Another where she straight up admitted to faking the pregnancy test with a marker pen. The public? Not kind. Her followers dropped. Brand deals ghosted her. Even Big Mike apparently blocked her number. Guess poison doesn't taste so sweet when you're choking on it. And me? I felt relief. Not joy. Not revenge. Just clarity. Like finally waking up after a long, confusing dream. So yeah, after all the chaos, the lies, and the public circus, I was left with a quiet apartment and a mind spinning faster than a roulette wheel. At first, I thought I'd never stop feeling angry. Like, the kind of anger that keeps you up at night, makes your jaw hurt from clenching, and turns every happy memory sour. But then something shifted. I started focusing on me again. Real me. Not the me twisted around her lies, or the Johnny Depp everyone thought they knew, but the guy who loved acting, music, and late-night diner breakfasts with bad coffee. I picked up my guitar more. Played until my fingers bled. I went to therapy. Yeah, I actually went. Turns out, talking to someone who doesn't judge you for crying at 33 is pretty damn healing. And then, out of nowhere, I got a message from an old friend, Emily. We'd lost touch years ago, but she'd seen the headlines and just wanted to check in. Emily was different. No judgment. No pity. Just someone who listened. We started talking daily. Texts, calls, sometimes just stupid memes to make each other laugh. She didn't try to fix me. She just was there. It reminded me that even after the worst betrayal, there's still good left to find. Just when I thought I'd reached the bottom, life threw me a curveball. Emily and I kept talking, and honestly, it felt like a fresh start. Not just with her, but with myself. For once, I wasn't trying to be someone else's puppet or live inside someone else's story. One night, she surprised me by showing up at my place with coffee and that old movie soundtrack I'd been obsessed with. We sat on my beat-up couch, no fancy wine, no pretense, just two people figuring out how to trust again. But here's the kicker. She knew things about the industry that I'd never even heard of. Turns out, she worked behind the scenes at a small indie film company. Got a project coming up, she said casually, and it needs someone real. Not a star, just someone who can tell a story. I laughed. Me? Real. She smiled. Exactly. For the first time in ages, I felt that spark. The one that made me want to pick up the phone, read a script, and say, let's do this. The weirdest part? It wasn't about fame or money. It was about reclaiming my voice on my terms. So, things were finally looking up with Emily, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I could leave the past in the dust. But nope. Life had other plans. Out of nowhere, my ex-wife showed up at my doorstep. Not knocking, not calling ahead, just showed up like she owned the place. She looked different, tired, but still with that bitch's smirk that made my skin crawl. I need to talk, she said, like she was delivering the weather report, not crashing my new beginning. I almost didn't let her in. Almost. Turns out, she had a proposal. Said she was sorry, said she made mistakes, said she wanted to start fresh. I laughed. Not the polite laugh, but the one that comes from deep in your gut when you realize the absurdity of it all. After everything, I said, you want me to forget the cheating, the lies, the fake pregnancy, and the public humiliation? She shrugged like it was no big deal. Then dropped the kicker. I'm pregnant. My heart stopped. For a second, I thought maybe this was the universe telling me to forgive. Then she smiled and added, with Big Mike's baby. Yeah, just like that. That moment, I froze. The world blurred. My mind screamed at me to run, to shut the door, to erase her from my life for good. But deep down, I knew I couldn't just walk away. Not because of her, not because of her baby, but because I had to protect myself, and maybe, just maybe, do the right thing. We sat down, talked. While I talked, she deflected, lied, cried on cue, played every card in the book. But for once, I stayed calm. The reality hit me. I wasn't just dealing with a bitter ex. I was dealing with a tornado of drama, betrayal, and twisted loyalties. After days of soul-searching, I made my decision. I'd be there for the kid, not as a hero, not as a savior, but as a man who's learned the hard way what responsibility really means. But for her, that chapter was closed. I told her clearly, no more lies, no more games. If she wanted a place in my life, it had to be honest and respectful. She agreed, at least on the surface. So, here I am, months later, still sorting through the mess, still healing, still learning. What did I learn? A lot. First, never ignore those gut feelings when something feels off. I did for years, and it cost me dearly. Second, people are complicated. Sometimes they hurt you because they're hurting themselves. Doesn't excuse the pain, but it helps to understand it. Third, forgiveness isn't always about the other person. It's about freeing yourself. I'm still working on that, but I'm getting there. And finally, never lose sight of you. Your passions, your values, your truth. Because when everything else falls apart, that's what holds you up. If you're reading this and dealing with betrayal or lies, know you're not alone. It's painful as hell, but it's also the start of something new. Don't rush the healing. Let it happen. And when you're ready, pick up the pieces and build something better on your own terms. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Sometimes sharing your story is the first step to owning it. Johnny Depp, well, not really, but you get the vibe.